Okie dokie. So for carving a little bit of texture back and into your stems, the easiest thing I like to do is either take like a pencil or one of those pens, and I'm going to start just drawing some lines in around the design and kind of follow the lines that I see that are already there. So when I pinch and twisted the stem a little bit, I didn't do a drastic stem for my pumpkin. I'm doing a short, like kind of stubby one. So I want to start thinking about, okay, if I have just a tiny, tiny little twist in it, I'm not going to make super drastic lines, right? I'm just going to take either like my pencil. For this one, I do find that the lead being out a teeny bit helps for me. If your clay is too wet, like if you just attached your stem, you're going to probably have to wait till tomorrow to really carve out your lines because you're going to get a lot of the boogers. All right. So I'm just going to go around and kind of follow the natural curve of my stem and start to. If you notice, you get like a lot of this part coming up in here. Your clay is still a little bit soft, so that's what I was saying. You might need to wait to do this step. But this is a very just easy way to kind of reinforce those lines. I'm not done. I'm just putting where they're going to go to start. I'm still going to go back in and reinforce those lines and size them and then smooth them out. This is just the first kind of step to get some of that design on my stem. This doesn't have to be uniform. You can change it up. I'm just really trying to find out where I like for them to go. This is just one of the easiest ways I find to start adding some line or texture onto the stem. I might do so on the top as well. And to do that, I might look at an actual pumpkin to add a little bit more texture. I might kind of add some other types of designs. I'm not sure yet. I got to look at the top of a pumpkin and remember what the top of my pumpkin looks like. So I'm going to wait to go back and add a little bit more texture on there. But for right now, that's a decent start for some of those lines on the pumpkin. And I want to go back in. I'm also trying to make sure that I have this a little bit more defined. And I can go back in and make sure it's fully smoothed out later. For whatever reason, I like to make very dramatic sections as far as like how much I pinched or how much I shaped them. You don't have to do it as like rounded off that I did. If yours is a little bit less like bumped, that's fine. You can do it a little bit more smooth. Remember, all pumpkins are not the same. So that's kind of the start of carving out where I want my pumpkin to sit. I'll fix that exactly up later, but do you see how now it's starting to look a little bit more like it's a stem coming out from the pumpkin rather than just attached and smoothed out on top, right? We see that? All right. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is if you're doing anything with texture, remember you can use anything as an imprint tool. So we do have some different types of stamps. You have the caps. You have anything else that is over here you can use to impress texture into clay. So maybe you want some type of, and I can always get rid of this, I'll show you. Maybe you want some type of like leaf design, but you don't want to carve out exactly everything on it. I'm going to take my stamp and pick some places to stamp it. If you do not press with enough pressure, you're not going to get that indent. You might have to go over it a little bit when you're done too, because I didn't press that hard. So maybe I go back over it with my lines once my clay is a little bit drier to help carve that out. Okay, that's one option. So let's see if I can get one that's not as, it's a little bit better. That one showed up a little bit more. You can't tell as much on the camera, but they are popping up, and then I can go back in and try to re-incise those lines to make them stand out a little bit more. So I can start doing that if I want to. I can also think about jack-o'-lanterns. So mine is a little bit tricky. I have to make sure that I don't make it too wide because I have a short pumpkin. The first thing that you can do, I have some tea light candles. So let's say you do want to put a tea light candle in it. The easiest way is to place this on the bottom, and you're going to press around where you want that to go. I kind of just press it into the clay like that and twist it. However, clay shrinks. All right, so as it goes into the kiln, the first firing, it shrinks. Then when we glaze it, it shrinks again. So what I did, I got that for my original size of the tea light, but I'm actually gonna make that opening just a little bit wider, because then you're gonna end up not being able to fit a tea light candle in it. Now, sometimes that still happens, right? Clay is clay, it acts how it acts. Just put it right there, thank you. That's fine. So that's where I'm gonna carve that out. I'm gonna draw my face that I want to carve out on it. I can also, if I mess up, I can kind of just smooth it back out. I think, do I want to do a little tooth? I don't know. I'm trying to debate what I want to do as I'm doing this. So this is the part where having a drastic change is a little bit harder with some of the faces. So just be mindful of that as you carve. Don't go too low to the bottom. I wouldn't go past the point of where it starts to really curve down. Even this is a little bit low, because when you start to cut it out, what can end up happening is you have a little bit tougher of a time to get that shape on the bottom if you go too close to the edge. So I'm gonna show you guys how to actually carve out wherever my knife went. We're just going to use some fenneling knives, so that's those metal knives, right? It's called fenneling knives. I'm going to start off by showing you how to do the bottom. And if you're not doing a carving, what you will want to do, I'll show this part first. So let's say I'm not cutting any holes out in my pumpkin. You're going to take either a wooden dowel, that's probably the easiest, and you're just going to go into the center, press it through until you feel it go forward, right? And then I'm gonna take it out. That's gonna allow for my air pocket to breathe. All right, if I don't have that part, it doesn't get wet. If I don't have a hole in it somewhere, like that, it'll explode. So do you think I'm gonna fire it? So make sure that you take this step if you are not carving out anything into your pumpkin, and you place a hole directly through the bottom. Now I'm going to take my fettling knife and I'm going to go around that outer edge circle I made, that second circle. So I'm going to be careful with this, because I find that if, I probably should just hold it from here. If you're too close, it's going to be a little weird. As far as, I wouldn't get too close to the edge that is sharp. Oops, sorry, I'm not even in the camera. Let me know if I'm not in the camera, guys. What's up? For what? Just this size. So just take one of these like dowels and that's fine. As long as that hole, at least that big, is fine. I'm going to take my knife and I'm not going to just go ahead and cut it all out at once. I'm going to go around and I'm going to start to make little kind of incision lines first. This is if you're doing it like a jack-o'-lantern. All right. Because if I start to cut this out all at once, what do you think could happen? Do you think I have an easier time to mess up doing that? If I just tried to go like beep, 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 all at once, do you think I might mess up? Yeah, it's clay, right? So I want to make sure that I'm taking my time. I'm going around this circle and I'm just going and pressing into the clay with my knife. Be careful not to go too all the way through, right? And then from there, I can start to go back around and kind of go through my lines. I'm not following the line. All right, so now I have like an initial start to cutting that open. It's going to be a little bit easier to go back in and start to go through and cut open the rest of this. And then it should pop right out. All right, so now I have this part that came out. That was a lot easier than just trying to do it by imagination. And my tea light candle fits with a little bit of spare room, so that's good. Remember, I said I don't want it to be something where it's the exact same size. It should be slightly larger. You're going to do the same process if you're making a jack-o'-lantern. So if you have anything that is getting cut out, draw it first with a pencil. So I drew this on my line so that way I can fix it up. Then same thing, you're going to take your fenneling knife and you're going to press through in sections, right? Small sections, and then go back over and get it out. Okay?